Good day, grade 9s. So today we are going to look at simplifying algebraic fractions. So what we already know is how to simplify expressions. And you have tools, you know how to write it in a simpler form by adding and subtracting like terms and by factorizing expressions so that you only have one term expressions. So why is it important to know this when we simplify fractions? The most important rule that I can teach you is to remember that only fractions in the form of one term in the numerator divided by one term in the denominator can be factorized by dividing with the highest common factor. So what does all of that mean? If we look at some examples, I'll just look at the simple fractions. The first one, if I have a fraction 15/20ths, it is a one-term expression over a one-term expression. It is easy to simplify because all we need is a highest common factor. So you should all know that 5 is the highest common factor. So I simplify fractions by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 5, the highest common factor, and I get the simplified fraction 3/4. Right, so now if I look at an algebraic fraction, if I have 6x squared over 2x, it is clear that I have one term in my numerator, one term in my denominator, so it's easy to factorize. I just divide with the highest common factor, which in this case will be 2x. So I divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2x, and I get 6x squared divided by 2x is 3x, and 2x divided by 2x is 1, so I don't have to write that. So simplified, the algebraic fraction 6x squared over 2x is just equal to 3x. But this was easy because I had one term over one term. So now let's look at this example. Here I have 6x cubed plus 4x cubed, which is two terms, and I'm dividing it with a denominator. That's 2x squared plus 3x squared. So the problem with this fraction is I don't have one term in my denominator and numerator. So before I can simplify this fraction, I need to get one term in both the numerator and denominator. So for this one, it is easy because if you look, you have the tools to do this. You have like terms in the numerator, so I'm doing this separately. I'm first going to simplify the numerator. I've got 6x cubed and 4x cubed. They're like terms. I can add them, and it will give me 10x cubed. In the denominator, I also have like terms. It's also two terms. So I can also simplify the denominator. I can add the x squared to the x squared, which is 2x squared plus 3x squared, and it's going to give me 5x squared. And now I've got one term over one term in the numerator and denominator, which means I can divide now with the highest common factor, and in this case it will be 5x squared. So I can divide both the numerator and the denominator with 5x squared, and I'm going to get the simplified fraction. 10 divided by 5 is 2. X cubed divided by x squared will just be x. 5x squared divided by 5x squared is 1. So my simplified fraction is 2x. So now what do we do in this case? I've got 2x plus 6, and my denominator is 2x. So people, there's two terms in my numerator and only one term in my denominator. I cannot divide this 2x into that 2x because this means mathematically I must take this answer and divide it by 2x. And because I don't have like terms here, I cannot add it. So how do I simplify it? And you already know how to do it because we've been factorizing. So I can rewrite this expression in the numerator by factorizing it. Can you see that there is a highest common factor? Yes, the highest common factor in the numerator is 2. So I can take 2 out, write it in, make a bracket, divide both terms by 2, and then I have 2x divided by 2 is just x, plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. So what do I have? Why do I want to do that? Because now I have a single term in my numerator, and I divide it by 2x. So now I have one term over one term. And to simplify this, I now just simply have to divide with the highest common factor. And in this case, the highest common factor is 2. So I'm going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. And I'm going to get the fraction x plus 3. This is the bracket because this will cancel out over x. So that is done. You cannot do anything more. It is simplified. Good. So let's look at more examples. So if I look at this example, once again, I've got 2 terms in the numerator. I've got 2 terms in the denominator. So the first thing I do is I look for like terms, and there's no like terms. So I can't simplify like that. So I'm going to look for the highest common factor in the numerator. It's a 2-term expression. 2 is the highest common factor. Do you all see that? So I can take 2 out by writing it in front of a bracket, and I divide 2a by 2 and I get a, plus I divide 6b by 2 and I get 3b. So I've got a plus 3b in my bracket. So now I've got one single term in my numerator. So let's look at the denominator. 2 terms, no like terms, but I have a highest common factor. So once again, I take out 4 as the highest common factor. I divide each term by 4. 4a divided by 4 is just a, minus 12b divided by 4 is 3b. Right, now I've got one term over one term, which means I can now simplify by dividing with the highest common factor. And what is that? It is 2. So I'm going to divide 4 by 2, and 2 go into 4 twice, and 2 go into 2 once. I'm dividing both the numerator and denominator by 2, and I get in my numerator 1 times the bracket, which is just a plus 3b, divide by 2 times a minus 3b. And there's nothing else I can do. This is now simplified, and it's in the simplest form. Right, good for you. So now let's look at example B. I have 1, 2, 3 terms in my numerator and 1, 2, 3 in my denominator. So that won't work. I can't simplify this by dividing with the highest common factor. So what can I do? So if I look at the numerator, I've got like terms. Do you see that? So I have 1a plus another 2a's plus 3a. So I can add that together. So let's add the like terms. And I'm going to get 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6a. Divide by. In my denominator, I have a b plus a 2b plus a 3b. So I can add them together. And that will give me 6b. Now I've got what I want. I've got one term in the numerator, one term in the denominator. So I can divide with the highest common factor. And in this case, it will be 6. So I can just say 6 go into 6 once. and 6 going to 6 once, so I divide both with 6, and I get an answer. 1 times a is a over 1 times b, and it is simplified. I cannot do anything else, so I'm done with that one. Let's look at another example. I have 2 terms in my numerator, 1 in my denominator. So I need to simplify the numerator first. I don't want 2 terms. I can't add, there's no like terms, but there is a highest common factor. So my highest common factor in my numerator is 2. So I take 2 out, I divide 2x by 2, and I just get x minus a divided by 2 is 4. So I get the bracket x minus 4, which means I now have 2 times a bracket, which is 1 term. Divide that by 2x, which is 1 term. So now I can simplify. Highest common factor, everybody, is 2. So I'm going to divide the denominator by 2, 2 going to 2 once, and the numerator by 2, 2 going to 2 once, and I'm going to get an answer. 1 times the bracket, which is x minus 4, over the denominator of x. And I'm done. There's nothing else I can do, and it is simplified. Done. So for D, let's look at D. Once again, I have 2 terms in my numerator and 2 terms in my denominator. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is no highest common factor here. I can also not add or subtract because there's no like terms. But what do I have? I've got a square number minus a square number. And what is that? That is a difference of squares, which means I can actually factorize that to get 1 term. So, remember how we do that? I'm going to get 2 brackets. The first term in my brackets will be the square root of the first term. So what times what give me x squared? It will be x times x. To get the middle term to fall away, I need opposite signs. So I need a plus and a minus. And I'm going to get the square root of the second term. For my second term in the bracket, square root of 4 is 2 and 2. So now I factorize the numerator and I get this. And I'm dividing with x minus 2. So can you now see I have a highest common factor? Yes. The bracket x minus 2 and x minus 2 in the denominator is the highest common factor. So I can divide both the numerator and denominator with the highest common factor, and I can say x minus 2 going to x minus 2 once, and it going to x minus 2 once in the numerator, and I will have an answer. I will be left with x plus 2, which is the simplest form of that fraction. So, let's do recap. What is the most important thing you must remember? That only fractions in the form of 1 term over 1 term can be simplified by dividing with the highest common factor. So go and try exercise 1 on worksheet 2 and see if you get it. Thank you for watching.